Part 1. The walkout. The meeting room floated in empty space between the stars. It was huge and round, with seats for representatives from every alien species in the galaxy. Ambassador Minho Kim sat at the human table, his hands resting calmly on the smooth surface. He had gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 30 years talking to aliens, making deals, and keeping peace. Across from him sat High Arbiter Velthor. He was not human. He looked like a giant insect with 6 eyes and clicking mouth parts. His species, the Ascendancy, had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. They were powerful and they knew it. Velthor spoke in a voice that made the air vibrate. The translator machines changed his words into human language. The terms are final. You cannot change them. Humanity will give us 70% of your colony worlds. Your military ships will be reduced to almost nothing. You will stop all research into faster-than-light travel, and you will pay us for the incident at the Helios border. Commander Unipark sat next to Minho. She was younger, maybe 40 years old, with short black hair and sharp eyes. Her hands gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles turned white. The incident? You mean when your ships attacked our medical convoy? We lost 4,000 innocent people. They were doctors and nurses and sick children. Velthor waved one of his 6 legs dismissively. An unfortunate mistake. But you are still new to galactic society. You have only been here for 200 years. These terms are generous considering how young and weak you are. Around the circular room, 47 different alien species watched silently. There were reptiles with scales. There were creatures made of gas floating in containment fields. There were beings made of living crystal. All of them had surrendered to the Ascendancy at some point. All of them looked at the humans with something like pity. Minho stood up slowly. His chair made a small sound as it moved back. Every eye in the room turned to look at him. He was not tall or impressive. He was just an old man in a simple suit. But when he spoke, his voice was clear and strong. "Let me make sure I understand what you want," Minho said. "You want us to abandon billions of our people on colony worlds where they have built homes and lives. You want us defenseless against any threat. You want us to stop learning and growing. And you want us to apologize for being attacked by your ships and losing 4,000 innocent lives." "Yes, exactly," Velthor said. His mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. "I am pleased you finally understand your position." "No," Minho said. The room went completely silent. Not a single being moved or made a sound. In 3,000 years of council history, no one had ever simply said no to the Ascendancy. It was not done. It was not possible. Velthor's mouthparts stopped moving, his 6 eyes all focused on Minho. "What did you say?" "I said no," Minho repeated. He picked up his datapad and nodded to Yuna. "Commander Park, tell Captain Deho to get the ship ready. We are leaving." The council chamber exploded with noise. Species that had not spoken without permission in centuries suddenly found their voices. Some were shocked. Some were excited. Some were terrified. Velthor's shell changed color from light purple to dark, almost black. It was the color of rage. "You cannot just leave." Velthor's voice boomed so loud it hurt human ears. "No species has ever walked away from peace talks. This has never happened. This is against all protocol." "Then we are making a new protocol," Minho said calmly. He turned to face the entire council, speaking to all of them, not just Velthor. "For 200 years, humanity has tried to be good neighbors. We followed your rules. We respected your traditions. We paid your fees and taxes. We tried to fit in. But what you are asking for is not peace. It is slavery. You are making a terrible mistake," Velthor hissed. The sound was like metal scraping on metal. "The Ascendancy fleet has thousands of ships. Your 73 colony worlds cannot stand against our 800 worlds. We are offering you a chance to survive. You should take it." Yuna stood up next to her ambassador. She was shorter than Minho, but her voice was just as steady. "We prefer to be free rather than to just survive. We tried your way. We tried to be part of your community. But you do not want equals. You want servants. You want slaves. And we will not be slaves." Minho placed a small data chip on the council table. It made a tiny clicking sound. "This contains humanity's formal withdrawal from the Galactic Council. We will defend our territory. We will protect our citizens. We will not bend. We will not break. And we will not be threatened." The human delegation walked toward the massive doors at the chamber's exit. Their footsteps echoed in the shocked silence. As they reached the doors, a small voice spoke up. It belonged to Ambassador Trensic of the Ven, a species that looked like small furry mammals. They had been conquered by the Ascendancy 200 years ago. They are actually doing it, Trensic whispered. But everyone heard him in the quiet room. They are actually walking away. The huge doors closed behind the humans with a sound like thunder. The echo rolled through the chamber and slowly faded away. Velthor turned to his military advisor, General Krax, who looked similar to Velthor, but with darker coloring and more scars on his shell. Send orders to mobilize the 2nd and 5th fleets. These stupid humans need to learn their place in the galaxy. We will crush them in a matter of weeks. Make an example of them. But in the back of the chamber, an old ambassador named Ren watched quietly. He was made of living crystal that reflected light in strange patterns. He was 400 years old and had seen empires rise and fall. He shook his head slowly. You have made a terrible mistake, Velthor, Ren whispered to himself. You have forgotten that the most dangerous species are not the strongest or the oldest. They are the ones who have nothing left to lose, and you just took everything from humanity except their pride. That makes them very dangerous indeed. The other species in the council began to murmur among themselves. For the first time in a very long time, they began to wonder. If humans could say no and walk away, could they? The seed of an idea had been planted, and ideas once planted are very hard to kill. Part 2. The first battle 3 weeks passed after the humans walked out of the peace talks. The Ascendancy 2nd Fleet arrived at a human colony world called New Inshan. 400 warships appeared from faster-than-light travel all at once. They formed perfect lines in space like soldiers standing at attention. It was meant to be terrifying. It was meant to make the humans surrender immediately. Admiral Jiwan Li stood on the bridge of her command station orbiting New Inshan. She was 50 years old with silver streaks in her black hair. She had fought in 3 wars before humanity met the aliens. Her face showed no fear as she watched the sensor screens. Next to her stood Seojun Han, a young officer who handled tactics and planning. 400 enemy ships confirmed, Admiral, Seojun said. His voice was calm and professional. They have big battleships in the center, smaller attack ships around them. They are sending us messages telling us to surrender. How long until our reinforcements arrive? Jiwan asked. Captain Deho's fleet is 6 hours away. He has the battleship Indomitable, the cruiser Relentless, and 18 smaller ships. So we hold with 12 ships against 400 for 6 hours, Jiwan said. It was not really a question. Yes, Admiral. Jiwan smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone about to do something crazy. Then let us give them something to remember us by. The Ascendancy did not understand human military thinking. For 1,000 years, they had won battles by showing up with bigger ships and more weapons. They expected enemies to look at their huge fleet and give up. Their generals thought war was about showing strength and watching the enemy break. But humans did not think that way. Humans had spent 10,000 years fighting each other. They had learned every dirty trick. They knew how to fight when outnumbered. They knew how to win when winning should be impossible. The Ascendancy fleet moved forward in their traditional formation. Shields at maximum power, weapons charging. They expected the human ships to run away or surrender. Instead, the human vessels did something strange. They split into groups of 4 ships each and accelerated directly toward the enemy fleet at full speed. Admiral Lee has lost her mind, General Krax said from his command ship. Those primitive human ships will be destroyed in seconds. But as the distance closed, the human ships began to move in ways the Ascendancy had never seen. They did not fly in straight lines or predictable patterns. They twisted and turned and spun in seemingly random directions. On the human ship Defiant Dawn, Weapons Officer Hana Song had spent 3 years studying how Ascendancy shields worked. She had discovered something interesting. The alien shields were very powerful, but they worked on specific frequencies. To make them even stronger, all the ships in the fleet synchronized their shield frequencies together. This made them nearly invincible, but it also meant if you knew the frequencies, you could break the synchronization. Target the frequency generators on those 6 destroyers on the left side, Jiwan ordered. Railguns, maximum speed, tungsten rounds. The human ships did not use energy weapons like the rest of the galaxy. Energy weapons fired beams of light or plasma that traveled fast but could be blocked by shields. Humans used something simpler and older. They used railguns that fired solid metal rods accelerated to incredible speeds. The rounds were simple pieces of tungsten metal shaped like spears. They were not fancy or complicated. But they were moving so fast that even computers had trouble tracking them. And they carried so much kinetic energy that when they hit something, they went right through it. The first volley struck the Ascendancy destroyers before the alien crews even realized they were being shot at. The tungsten rounds punched through the shields, tore through the metal hulls, and destroyed the frequency generators inside. 7 destroyers went dark. Their shields stopped working correctly and no longer connected to the rest of the fleet. What just happened? Krax demanded. His 6 eyes were wide with confusion. The humans are using kinetic weapons, General, his tactical officer reported. They targeted our shield synchronization systems. 7 ships have lost connection to the fleet network. 7 out of 400? That means nothing. All ships open fire on the human vessels. But Admiral Jiwan was not trying to destroy 400 ships with 12. She just needed to survive for 6 hours until help arrived. The human ships proved almost impossible to hit. They moved in patterns that the Ascendancy targeting computers could not predict. Human ships used chemical rockets and fusion engines that gave them acceleration profiles completely different from standard alien vessels. The computers kept guessing wrong about where the humans would be. And every time the Ascendancy fleet tried to get into a tighter formation to trap the humans, another weapon appeared. Missiles. Thousands and thousands of missiles. The galaxy had forgotten that missiles could be effective. Modern space combat used energy weapons and shields. But humans launched swarms of physical missiles that came from every direction at once. Each missile was cheap and weak. But when 10,000 of them hit at the same time, shields overloaded and hulls cracked. This is insane, Krax roared as his ship shuddered from impacts. These weapons are thousands of years out of date. They are primitive. They are fighting like primitives, General, his second-in-command said. But it is working. We have lost 31 ships. They have lost only 3. 3 hours into the battle, the Ascendancy had destroyed 4 human ships, but they had lost 37 of their own. And the worst part was that the human ships seemed to be learning. Every time an Ascendancy ship fired its weapons, the humans adjusted their movements. They learned the firing patterns and timing. They adapted. The Ascendancy fleet was so big that they started hitting each other with missed shots. Friendly fire destroyed almost as many ships as the humans did. When Captain Deho arrived with reinforcements, he did not send messages or challenges. The human fleet simply appeared from faster-than-light travel right in the middle of the Ascendancy formation and started shooting immediately. The battle lasted 8 hours total. It was brutal and bloody and nothing like the Ascendancy expected. When General Krax finally ordered his surviving ships to retreat, he had lost 112 vessels. The humans had lost 11 ships. On the bridge of her station, Admiral Jiwan watched the Ascendancy fleet jump away to faster-than-light travel. Her uniform was stained with sweat. Her eyes were red from exhaustion, but she was smiling. "Send a message to Earth," she said quietly. "Tell them we won. Tell them the Ascendancy can be beaten." Seojin looked at the damage report scrolling across his screen. "Admiral, we lost a lot of good people today." "I know," Jiwan said, and her smile faded. "I know, but they did not die for nothing. Today we proved something important. We proved that big does not always mean strong. We proved that new does not always mean weak. And we proved that humans do not quit just because the odds are bad." Around the galaxy, news of the battle spread quickly. Species that had been conquered by the Ascendancy for centuries heard that the humans had won. The primitive newcomers had defeated the mighty fleet. And in the hearts of the oppressed, something dangerous began to grow. Hope. Part 3. The Council Panics. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was chaos. High Arbiter Velthor stood in the center of the chamber. His shell was still dark purple, the color of anger mixed with something new, something he had not felt in a very long time. Fear. "This is only a temporary setback," Velthor insisted. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of stress. "The humans used tricks. They caught us by surprise. Our 3rd and 6th fleets are already preparing. We will crush them with overwhelming force next time." Ambassador Wren rose slowly from his seat. The old crystal being had seen so much history that most species considered him a living archive. "May I speak, High Arbiter?" Velthor's irritation was obvious. "The Council recognizes Ambassador Wren. I have seen 3 galactic empires rise and fall," Wren began. His voice had the weight of centuries behind it. "The Macthon hegemony. The collective sphere. The first ascendancy, yes, even your own species' first empire, Velthor. Do you know what they all had in common before they collapsed? Ancient history has no bearing on this situation, Velthor said dismissively. They all underestimated their enemies, Ren continued, ignoring the interruption. They all believed their superiority was unquestionable. They all learned too late that pride makes you blind, and blindness in war is fatal. A murmur ran through the council. Several species shifted uncomfortably in their seats. What Ren was saying was dangerous. It suggested that the ascendancy might not be invincible after all. Suddenly, a holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber. It was Ambassador Mirai Ko of humanity. She had not been invited, but human technicians had gotten very good at hacking ascendancy communication systems. "Greetings, Council," Mirai said. Her voice was calm and professional. "I thought you would want to know. We just got word from New Incheon. Admiral Lee sends her regards. She says all civilian evacuations are complete and everyone is safe. Also, General Krax left behind some very interesting wreckage. Our engineers are excited to study ascendancy technology up close." Velthor's shell turned almost black. "This transmission is a violation of Council protocols. This is illegal. We are no longer members of the Council, remember?" Mirai replied with a slight smile. "We do not have to follow your protocols anymore. But since I have your attention, here is humanity's position. Leave our space. All ascendancy forces withdraw beyond the borders we will send you. In return, we will not come looking for you. You dare threaten the ascendancy?" Velthor's voice boomed through the chamber. "We have 800 worlds. We have fleets with thousands of ships. You have only 73 colonies and a handful of primitive vessels. And yet we won," Mirai said simply. 112 of your ships destroyed. 11 of ours lost. Those are bad numbers for you, Arbiter. How many more battles like that can the Ascendancy afford? What happens when you lose another 100 ships? And another? How long before your subject species start wondering if they need to obey you? The hologram disappeared, leaving the council in stunned silence. Nobody spoke for a long moment. They were all doing the same calculation in their heads. Finally, Ambassador Trensic of the Ven stood up. He was small and furry, and his species had been conquered by the Ascendancy 200 years ago. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the silent chamber. "She is right," Trensic said. "The mathematics are not in your favor, Velthor. If the humans maintain even half that combat ratio, the Ascendancy cannot win a war of attrition. You will run out of ships before they do." "Silence," Velthor snapped. "The Ven do not have permission to speak." But Trensic did not sit down. For the first time in 2 centuries of subjugation, he remained standing and speaking. "No," he said quietly. "I do not think I will be silent anymore." The shock in the chamber was like a physical force. Other subjugated species began to stir. Representatives who had not spoken out of turn in decades were whispering to each other. Eyes that had been dull with resignation now showed something new: interest, curiosity, hope. "The humans showed us something at New Incheon," Trensic continued. His voice grew stronger with each word. "They showed us that the Ascendancy can be beaten. They showed us that saying no does not mean extinction. They showed us that freedom is possible if you are willing to fight for it. This session is adjourned," Velthor declared. His voice lacked its usual certainty. "All representatives will return to their quarters immediately while we prepare our military response." As the chamber emptied, Velthor turned to his closest advisor, Minister Krell. Krell was older than Velthor, with a shell marked by scars from many battles. He had served 3 High Arbiters before Velthor. "We need to crush the humans quickly," Velthor said, "before this infection spreads. If the subjugated species begin to believe resistance is possible, then our entire power structure will collapse." "High Arbiter," Krell said carefully, "perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The humans have proven more dangerous than we anticipated. We could offer them reasonable terms. A genuine peace. Not subjugation, but coexistence." "No!" Velthor slammed his limbs against the floor. The sound echoed through the empty chamber. "We are the Ascendancy. We have ruled this galaxy for 1,000 years. We do not negotiate with primitives. We do not show weakness. We will not bend. Then we may break," Krell said quietly. But Velthor was not listening. He was already planning his next military campaign. Bigger fleets, more ships, overwhelming force. That was how the Ascendancy had always solved problems. It would work again. It had to work. Yet as Velthor stormed out of the chamber, he could not shake the memory of Admiral Lee's tactical display. 12 ships holding off 400. That should have been impossible. Primitives were not supposed to be able to do that. In the quiet of the empty council chamber, Ambassador Wren remained alone. He stood before the holographic star map that showed Ascendancy territory in human space. The human colonies were tiny dots compared to the vast Ascendancy empire. "You poor fools," Wren whispered. "You still do not understand what you are fighting. You are not at war with humanity's ships or weapons. You are fighting humanity's idea. The idea that you can be resisted. The idea that you can be beaten. And ideas cannot be killed with warships. Ideas spread. Ideas grow. Ideas change the galaxy." The holographic map flickered and updated with new information. Reports of unrest on Ven Prime, protests on Kef worlds, quiet resistance movements forming on a dozen subjugated planets. The idea was already spreading, and once an idea takes root, it is almost impossible to kill. Part 4. The guerrilla war 6 months after the Battle of New Incheon, the Ascendancy's intelligence network was falling apart. High Arbiter Velthor stood in his private war room, staring at holographic reports that made less sense with each passing day. His shell had developed stress cracks from constant tension. "Explain this to me again," Velthor demanded. His mandibles clicked with agitation. Intelligence Director Zarin manipulated the holographic display. It showed dozens of red marks across Ascendancy space, each representing an attack. "The humans are not fighting us in conventional warfare, High Arbiter. They are everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Speak clearly. They have divided into small units, never more than 5 ships together. They strike supply convoys, mining operations, and communication relays. By the time our response fleets arrive, the humans are gone. They jump to faster-than-light travel and vanish. We cannot predict where they will hit next." Captain Junho Park commanded a strike group of 4 ships hunting Ascendancy supply lines in the Outer Rim territories. His flagship was called the Ghost of Terra. It was a modified frigate with all unnecessary systems removed and replaced with stealth technology that humanity had been developing in secret for decades. "Contact," reported his sensor officer, Hunji Nam. She was young but very skilled at reading sensor data. "Bearing 27 Mark III. Looks like a supply convoy. 8 cargo ships, 6 escort destroyers. How fast can we jump away if we need to run?" Junho asked. 40 seconds, Captain. "Then let us say hello. Target the escorts first. The cargo ships cannot hurt us." The Ghost of Terra and its 3 companion ships appeared on Ascendancy sensors for exactly 4 minutes. In that time, they destroyed 4 escort destroyers and crippled the other 2 with precise railgun fire. Then they vanished back into faster-than-light space before reinforcements could arrive. The cargo ships survived, but their contents were now useless. Food, ammunition, and replacement parts meant for the Ascendancy 6 fleet now drifted in the void with no one to deliver them to. This same scenario repeated dozens of times per day across hundreds of light years. The Ascendancy, with its massive fleets and overwhelming firepower, could not pin down an enemy that refused to stand still and fight. But humanity's strategy went deeper than simple hit-and-run attacks. On the occupied world of Ven Prime, the subjugated species received an unexpected visitor. A single human shuttle landed in the capital city under a diplomatic flag. It carried Ambassador Heian Shin, a specialist in liberation movements and underground resistance. The Ascendancy garrison commander, Vrex, intercepted her immediately. "Humans are not permitted in Ascendancy space. You will surrender your vessel and submit to arrest." "I am here under Article 73 of the Old Council Charter," Heian replied calmly. She pulled out a data pad. "The right to diplomatic contact with member species. The Ven are members, are they not?" "The Ven are under Ascendancy protection," Vrex said. "The Ven are prisoners," Heian interrupted. "And I am here to talk with them. You can arrest me afterward if you want, but council law, your law, says I get my meeting first." Vrex's mandibles worked silently. The human was correct. The ancient laws were clear. If he violated those laws publicly, it would undermine the Ascendancy's claims to legitimate authority. Other species would question if any laws mattered. 1 hour, Vrex hissed. "Then you leave Ven space immediately." Heiyun's meeting with the Ven Council lasted exactly 59 minutes. When she emerged, she said nothing to the waiting Ascendancy guards. She simply boarded her shuttle and departed. But in that hour, she had left behind something far more dangerous than weapons. Information, technical specifications for railgun technology, quantum fold equations that the Ascendancy kept classified, shield frequency vulnerabilities, communication encryption keys, detailed records of human tactics and strategies, and most importantly, proof that resistance could succeed. "We are not asking you to fight," Heian had told the Ven leaders quietly. "We are just sharing information. What you do with it is your choice. But you should know that the Ascendancy is not invincible. We have proven that. And we are willing to stand alongside anyone who wants their freedom back." Similar meetings occurred on 15 other subjugated worlds over the following months. Humanity was not building a military alliance. That would have been too obvious, too easy for the Ascendancy to crush. Instead, they were planting seeds of resistance, providing tools and knowledge, then stepping back to let those seeds grow on their own. On Earth, in the War Council chambers, President Doyen Quan met with his military advisors. Admiral Jiwan Li had been promoted to Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces. Beside her sat General Taehyung Ryu and Intelligence Director Nari Lim. "Status report," Doyen requested. Nari pulled up a strategic map covered with symbols and data. "The Ascendancy has committed 8 major fleets to hunting our strike groups. They are burning through supplies faster than they can replace them. Their logistics network is stressed to the breaking point. Some frontier worlds are not receiving food shipments." "Our casualties?" Doyen asked. 19 ships lost, 4 damaged and withdrawn for repairs, Admiral G1 reported. "We have destroyed or crippled over 300 Ascendancy vessels in the same period. The ratio continues to favor us by a large margin." "What about the subjugated species?" Nari smiled. It was the first time she had smiled in months. 3 star systems have expelled their Ascendancy garrisons in the past month. The Ven, the Kef, and the Tauren. They used information we provided to coordinate simultaneous uprisings. The Ascendancy is now fighting resistance movements across a dozen sectors. "This is the critical phase," General Taehyung warned. His face was serious. "The Ascendancy will have to make a choice soon. Continue pursuing us and watch their empire fragment, or pull back to consolidate their forces and admit weakness. Either way, we win," Doyen said quietly. "If they chase us, we bleed them dry slowly. If they pull back, we have proven they can be resisted. The fear that kept their empire together evaporates. Either path leads to their collapse. They could still try a direct assault on our core worlds," Admiral G1 noted. "Earth, Mars, Titan. If they commit everything to a single decisive battle and aim for our home system, then we will show them what happens when you threaten humanity's home," Doyen said. His voice was hard as steel. "But I do not think it will come to that. Felthor is proud, but he is not completely stupid. He knows his empire is crumbling. The question is whether he will accept reality before it is too late." On the Ascendancy homeworld, High Arbiter Velthor received the same intelligence reports and came to a very different conclusion. "Mobilize everything," he told his war council. His voice was cold with determination. "Every fleet, every ship that can fly. We are going to Earth. We will destroy their homeworld, and this rebellion dies with it. Without humanity to inspire them, the subjugated species will remember their place." Minister Krell spoke cautiously. "High Arbiter, if we commit our entire military to a single campaign, the subjugated worlds will have no garrisons. They will be completely undefended." "They will do nothing," Velthor interrupted. "Once Earth is destroyed, the humans will surrender, and the rest of the galaxy will remember why they fear the Ascendancy. This ends now." The orders went out across the Empire. Every available warship was to gather for the largest military operation in Ascendancy history. 2,000 ships, the combined might of an empire that had ruled for a millennium. But as the fleets began to gather, Velthor failed to notice something important. The Ven, Kef, and Tauren had not just expelled their garrisons. They had captured Ascendancy ships intact. Ships with working weapons, shields, and faster-than-light drives. The rebellion he thought he would crush by destroying Earth had already grown beyond his ability to stop. Part 5. The Reckoning. The Ascendancy Armada emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. Earth's sun shone in the distance, a yellow star that looked unremarkable among billions of others. But this was humanity's home. 2,000 warships appeared at once, the combined might of an empire that had dominated the galaxy for 1,000 years. It was the largest military fleet ever assembled in recorded history. High Arbiter Velthor broadcast his ultimatum on all frequencies. Humans of Earth, you have 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. Every military vessel will be destroyed. Your entire population will relocate to designated worlds under ascendancy supervision. Refuse and your home world will be reduced to a lifeless rock. This is your final warning. Choose wisely. Admiral Jaiwan Lee commanded from the orbital defense platform called Humanity's Shield. It hung in space above Earth like a protective parent. Captain Daeho Choi stood beside her, along with dozens of other officers. His expression was grim as he looked at the sensor data. 2,000 confirmed contacts, Daeho reported. Every class of vessel the Ascendancy has. Battleships, carriers, destroyers, frigates. They are not holding anything back. This is their entire military. What are our defensive numbers? Jiwon asked. 300 ships in the Sol system. Another 200 en route, but they will not arrive in time. We are outnumbered 6-1, Admiral. Jiwon nodded slowly. They had known this moment might come. The question was whether Velthor understood what he was actually facing. Open a direct channel, Jiwon ordered. I want to speak to Velthor personally. The High Arbiter's insectoid face appeared on the main view screen. His mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Admiral Lee, have you come to offer your surrender? It would save many lives. Actually, I wanted to give you a chance to surrender, Jiwon replied calmly. Velthor's mandibles froze. Then he began making the chittering sound that was ascendancy laughter. It was an unpleasant sound that made humans uncomfortable. You face 2,000 ships with 300. Your strategic position is hopeless. Surrender now and we will show mercy. Your people can live as subjects rather than die as fools. You still do not understand, do you? Jiwon said. Her voice was calm but carried an edge of steel. You're not just fighting us, Velthor. You pulled every ship from your empire to come here. Every single garrison. Every defense fleet. Which means right now, all across Ascendancy space, every subjugated species is rising up. The Ven, the Kef, the Tauren, the Draxes, the Luminar, even the Eth Collective. They are all taking back their freedom while your ships are here. Velthor's shell flushed dark. Lies. Our intelligence would have warned us. This is a desperate bluff. Your intelligence has been compromised for months, Jiwon interrupted. We have been sharing information, tactics, and technology with every species you have oppressed. And while you were chasing our strike groups around the galaxy, they were preparing, learning, building weapons, waiting for the moment when you would leave them undefended. As if on cue, new contacts began appearing on sensors throughout the Sol system. Ships emerged from faster-than-light travel one after another, but they were not human ships. The designs were all different. Ven frigates with their curved hulls, Kef destroyers covered in rough plating, Tauren carriers that looked like floating cities, former subjects of the Ascendancy, arriving to stand with humanity. Ambassador Trensick of the Ven broadcast on an open channel. His voice was transmitted to every ship in the system. High Arbiter Velthor, the Ven system is now free. We have expelled your garrison. We have taken control of our own worlds. We will not return to subjugation. We stand with humanity today and forever. Similar declarations came from a dozen other species. The Kef announced their independence. The Tauren declared their freedom. The Draxes renounced ascendancy authority. One by one, the subjugated peoples of the galaxy spoke their defiance. The forces gathering in the Sol system now numbered over 800 ships. Still outnumbered, but no longer helplessly so. Velthor's command bridge descended into chaos. Officers shouted over each other as reports flooded in from across Ascendancy space. Uprisings on 37 worlds. Fleet battles in 6 sectors. The Empire's capital world was under siege by a combined Kef and Drax's fleet. This is impossible, Velthor whispered. His mandibles trembled. We are the Ascendancy. We have ruled for 1,000 years. This cannot be happening. You ruled through fear, Jiwon said, and the humans taught the galaxy that you could be beaten. Once fear dies, empires fall. It is a lesson history has taught over and over again. Minister Krell approached Velthor urgently. High Arbiter, we must withdraw immediately. If we lose this fleet at Sol, we will have nothing left to defend the core worlds. The Empire will collapse completely. No. Velthor slammed his limbs down on the command console. We cannot retreat. We cannot show weakness. If we back down now, we lose everything. We have already lost everything, Krell said quietly. The only question now is whether we lose with honor or with extinction. Ambassador Wren's hologram appeared in Velthor's command bridge. Another hack of ascendancy systems, the old crystal being looked at Velthor with something like pity. I warned you, Wren said. I told you that you were underestimating the humans. But this was never about humanity's military capability. It was about what they represent. Proof that the ascendancy can be defied. Proof that freedom is worth fighting for. You cannot kill an idea with warships, Velthor. You old fool, Velthor hissed. When I crush Earth, this rebellion will collapse. They will have no one to inspire them. Will they? Wren asked. If you destroy Earth, you turn humanity into martyrs. Every species in the galaxy will remember that they stood against you to the end. You will spend the next 1,000 years fighting insurgencies. Or you could accept reality. Never. But even as Velthor prepared to give the order to attack, his tactical officer spoke with panic in his voice. High Arbiter, sensors are reading weapon signatures throughout the Sol system. Not just ships. The humans have fortified every moon, asteroid, and orbital platform. The entire system is a weapons platform. Jiwan allowed herself a small smile. Humans have been planning how to defend their home world for centuries, Velthor. Long before we met you, we have railgun batteries on Luna, Mars, Titan, and Europa. Missile platforms on every asteroid in the belt. And those 300 ships you see, every single one is crewed by people who know they are defending their families, their children, their homes. You might win, but it will cost you everything. And with 37 worlds in rebellion, can you afford to lose half your fleet here? The calculation was brutal and simple. The Ascendancy could probably destroy the Sol system's defenses, but they would lose at least 1,000 ships doing it. Maybe more. And with the Empire burning behind them, losing half their fleet at Earth would leave the Ascendancy homeworld defenseless. Velthor's mandibles worked silently. Around him, his officers waited for the order that would determine the Ascendancy's fate. Some looked eager to fight. Others looked relieved at the possibility of retreat. All of them knew that whatever decision was made in the next few minutes would echo through history. The silence stretched. Seconds became a minute. The minute became 2. Finally, Minister Krell spoke very quietly. High Arbiter, there is still a path forward. We withdraw now. We negotiate in good faith. We preserve what remains of the Empire and build something new. Pride is a luxury. Survival is a necessity. Velthor's shell slowly faded from dark purple to a lighter shade. It was the color of resignation, of defeat, of acceptance. Transmit a message to Admiral Lee, Velthor said. His voice was hollow and empty. Request terms for ceasefire negotiations. 3 months later, the Galactic Council reconvened in a new station. This one was jointly constructed by humans and the former subjugated species. The old council chamber had been captured by the Ven Liberation Fleet and turned into a museum as a reminder that tyranny does not last forever. Ambassador Min-Ho Kim stood at the podium. The same man who had walked away from peace talks 9 months earlier. But now he addressed a very different council. The Ascendancy still held a seat, but Velthor was gone, replaced by a reform government led by Minister Krell. 9 months ago, humanity walked away from these chambers, Min-Ho said. We were told we had no choice but to submit. We were told that resistance was futile. We were told that the natural order of the galaxy was fixed and unchangeable. We proved that was a lie. Representatives from over 100 species listened. Many were attending council sessions as free people for the first time in their lives. We proved it not because humanity is stronger or smarter than anyone else. We proved it because we were willing to say one simple word, no. And that word, that refusal to accept injustice, changed everything. Trensic stood and began to clap. Slowly others joined. Not all species could clap, but they made their approval known in various ways. The sound filled the chamber. Minister Krell rose from the Ascendancy's seat. Ambassador Kim, on behalf of the Ascendancy Reform Government, I offer our formal apology. We were wrong, and we acknowledge humanity's role in liberating the galaxy. Later that evening, Admiral Jiwan stood on an observation deck, looking at Earth spinning below. Captain Una Park stood beside her.